Hello, my name is Wayne Visser, and it's a great pleasure for me to be addressing you today at your ISO 26000 conference, even if it is from a distance. What I want to talk about in this brief 10 minutes or so is how the standard can be used as a tool for transformation in the business sphere. What I've found as I've worked and traveled around the world in this area over the last 20 years or so is that companies tend to be in one of 5 stages of maturity. Some are still at the defensive stage, which is all about risk management and keeping the regulators at bay. Others have moved beyond to charity, essentially a philanthropic approach, which is all about projects and sponsorships. I think for most companies working with ISO 26000 now, they've moved beyond these 2 stages. But there is a danger that they can be caught in the 3rd stage, which is the promotional approach to social responsibility. This is all about marketing, about brand and reputation. Most companies, I think, that are engaging with the standard, however, have moved to the 4th stage, which is strategic social responsibility. This is about managing this issue as a management system and aligning the social and environmental challenges with the core strategy of the business. That's a good thing, but actually all 4 of these approaches are what I call CSR 1.0. They're the old approach that is actually failing to turn around the biggest problems that we face in the world today. And there are 3 essential reasons for that I'll come to in a moment. What we want to get to is a transformative approach, which I call CSR 2.0, and that's essentially about embracing a new way which is to do with creativity, to do with going to scale, to do with the sorts of things that we've seen on the internet as the web went from Web 1.0 to 2.0. So why is it that these 1.0 approaches are failing? There are 3 essential reasons. The first is that they tend to be incremental. And this is the biggest challenge, I think, for ISO 26000. Because it's still broadly modeled on the Plan, Do, Check, Act quality management system of ISO 14000 and ISO 9000, there is a possibility that this could become all about the management systems, and this creates incremental change, slow, stepwise improvements, which are good in and of themselves, but don't match the scale and the urgency of the problems that we face. The second problem with the 1.0 approaches is that they tend to be peripheral, by which we mean they sit on the side. Now, ISO 26000 addresses this by talking about integration. We just have to be clear what we mean by integration. It doesn't mean putting social responsibility in a corporate affairs department or in HR. It doesn't even mean a separate social responsibility department. It means integrating it into every function of the organization, which is a challenge. The third issue is that a lot of the 1.0 approaches tend to be uneconomic, by which I mean that the market doesn't consistently reward companies that are more responsible. But of course the business case is something that we build over time, that we can strengthen, and I believe ISO 26000 can be part of strengthening that business case for social responsibility. Now, there are 5 principles that I use to test whether companies are using a 2.0 approach, transformative. The first is creativity. Here again is an issue for the 26000 standard. How do you break beyond the tick box approach to embrace innovation? Well, I think there is the potential to do that. There's no reason why in the area of human rights and of labor, innovative practices can't be implemented which would help to solve those problems. The second principle is scalability. How do we get solutions that are ethical and responsible that apply to everyone, not just a niche target market, such as is the case at the moment with fair trade or organic products. So here we're talking about the subject area, one of the 7 core subjects, of consumer issues. And so there is potential for 26,000 to address the issue of scalability through something that we call choice editing, where companies can actually offer only the most responsible and most sustainable products and services. The third principle that I use to test is responsiveness. This is essentially to do with whether we're really making the business about solving those big challenges that we face and responding to stakeholder needs. This fits nicely as one of the 7 principles of ISO 26000, so there's no reason why it can't be used to bring about performance in this area. The fourth principle is glocality. Think global, act local. And here again, in the principles of 26,000, there is the potential to apply this principle because you talk about international norms and you talk about the rule of law. And it's really the combination of those global principles with local context in terms of culture and practices that needs to be found for a solution. The fifth principle is circularity. This is how do we get to a cradle-to-cradle circular economy. And here obviously we're addressing a lot the core subject area of environment. So there's no reason why 26,000 can't be used to address this. Now when people ask me what do I do tomorrow, how do I implement 2.0 when I get back into the workplace, I often say that there are 5 steps, and again these are steps that 26,000 could apply in its implementation. The first is to reassess. This means that you have to look at what you measure. You only manage what you measure. And this is not just about a global reporting initiative type of approach, it's about life cycle assessment of the footprints of the organization and making sure that it's a true picture of what the impact really is before you can start managing it. This aligns very nicely with both accountability and transparency, 2 of the principles of 26,000. The second step is to realign. This is all about partnerships. And here, of course, you have the subject areas of community involvement and development. This fits very nicely, but it's not just about giving to charity, it's about getting into partnership with NGOs and others that can really challenge your thinking and take you to the next step in terms of addressing these issues. The third implementation step is to redefine, and this is all about leadership. Can you use the core subject area of organizational governance to set really bold and ambitious targets for the organization? We think of Unilever, Paul Polman, saying that they will double in size, halve their environmental footprint, and help 1 billion people out of poverty at the same time. We think of many others that are setting bold targets of zero waste, zero impact, interface, mission zero. So this is all about leadership. The fourth step then is to redesign. This is all about innovation. Can you use your products and services to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem? And this keys in again to some of your areas of ISO 26000 like consumer issues. Finally, and perhaps most difficult, is to restructure. So how can you use the standard to actually engage in policy changes? And this relates again to international norms and the rule of law, 2 of the principles of 14,000. How can you transform the rules of the game so that actually it's the easiest thing in the world for companies to be responsible, to be sustainable, and to be profitable at the same time? So I think the challenge is very clear. ISO 26000 can be used for transformative social responsibility. There's a danger that it could get stuck in promotional or strategic approaches, but if we apply these principles, if we look at these steps, and we really just think big and say that this is about admission of your impacts and ambition in terms of where you're going, I think that 26,000 can be a great part of the future. Thank you very much. Enjoy your conference.